I feel like it would take more than 10 minutes to teach Donald Duck how to be a gentleman. Same for Goofy, actually. I'm not sure which of the two would be the easiest to teach. Nevertheless, Tea Time Trouble is quite a good fun episode of Mickey and the Roadster Racers. This is the second segment in the seventh episode of the first season. The first episode was The Old Royal Heist, irritatingly called Ye Olde Royal Heist. And in that episode, we got to see a lot of London, gorgeous animations of London landmarks. And with Tea Time Trouble, the gang are actually going to have tea with the Queen. I will say there was one thing about this that I didn't like, that I actively saw and thought that's a terrible decision. Pete is playing a guard. He's guarding Buckingham Palace, letting people in or not, as the case may be. But in the previous episode, he was Lord So-and-so, the jewel thief. So I don't like the fact that they've used the character in two completely different roles in the same episode. I feel like it just is very jarring and it really pulls you out of the narrative. But aside from that, I didn't really have any problems with anything. The gang are all dressed very smartly. I've mentioned this before, I love it when the Sensational Six look ever so slightly different. When they're wearing a different costume, there's a slight variation to their outfit. And here, they're dressed up very smartly. And Minnie and Daisy are quite welcome to go into Buckingham Palace, but the boys have to go and get some education about how to talk properly. Not so much elocution lessons as such, they're just classes on how to be a gentleman, how to conduct their behaviours, their mannerisms, how to ask for, and I quote, a spot of tea, which I will just point out, if you are not British, if you've never been to the UK, I can assure you that none of us speak like that. I wish we did. As a fan of the royal family, as a fan of the Queen's English and received pronunciation, as somebody with a terrible accent, I wish we all spoke like that and spoke properly and enunciated more. We don't, unfortunately. The majority of us don't. But it was still very enjoyable to see Mickey and Donald and Goofy trying to be taught to ask for tea politely and hold their teacups with their pinkies in the air, which again, we don't do. Most people drink tea out of mugs. I know, I don't like spoiling the illusion, but it's true. I like the episode. I love the Queen. I love the Queen in general, but I love Jane Leeves voicing the Queen of England in this. I just think she's fabulous. And I really enjoyed the episode as a whole. I preferred the first segment, which is unusual because most of the time I prefer the Happy Helpers segment to the actual race. But with this one, I actually preferred it the other way on. And the Happy Helper segment is quite interesting. While the boys are off learning to speak properly, the girls, Daisy, Minnie and Cuckoo Loca, are trying to fix the clock. There's something wrong with Big Ben. And the clock is on the wrong time. They have to try and fix it. And yep, I mean, it's a decent enough narrative that I didn't think was that compelling. Definitely not in contrast to the boys learning to speak properly, but it was interesting enough. As a Brit, as a proud Brit, I'm really pleased with how they've represented us, basically caricatured us in The Old Royal Heist and Tea Time Trouble. The Old Royal Heist definitely a lot stronger than Tea Time Trouble, but I really enjoyed both and ultimately cannot fault either of them.